Good morning, guys. Coming to you this weekend from Kingston, south coast of Jamaica. And I recall last week saying that that video would have been my last for 2023. However, coming on the heels of a conference I did with the caregivers that are entrusted with the final days of my mother's life, I grieved my mother this week. She's still alive, or as live as one can be under her circumstances, being afflicted with advanced dementia. She no longer recognizes me, but I have been very grateful for how Jehovah has provided for us, for her. She's in an advanced, state-of-the-art facility, 2,000 Canadian dollars per month facility. That means absolutely nothing to her, but it gives me the peace of mind to know that she's getting excellent care in the final phases of her life. I met with her doctor, I met with her dietitian, I met with her physiotherapist. There are about 7 different professionals who are dedicated, and I'd say they're doing an excellent job in making sure that my mother is as comfortable as any person can possibly expect to be while suffering from advanced dementia. She no longer recognizes me. That in itself is very painful. But I'm comforted knowing that when it mattered most, I ensured that she had the best quality of life possible under our circumstances. And what do I mean by under our circumstances? Neither my mother nor myself were beneficiaries of a trust fund. She was a divorcee, raising her only child, me, by herself between the ages of 0 to 9 years old. Around 9 years old, Jehovah intervened and ensured that my father came back into our lives, and my mother was wise enough to let him, although she was the epitome of what I hear women referring to themselves as strong black women not needing any man. My mother was a quintessential single mother who built her own home, not buy a home. She had the architect design her home and built it from ground up. Now this she did at a time when women were not able to do these things. So she was a pioneer in this field. But she has never ever once, it's not to my recollection or in my presence, boasted about her being this strong, independent woman that needed no man. And as such, I have watched her work her butt off 6 days a week to make sure that I had everything that I needed and wanted. Because the truth be told, there was nothing I knew to want growing up that my mother was not blessed enough to provide by herself. And she raised me in the church. She did not send me to church. She took me to church every Sunday. I cannot recall a Sunday that we were not in church. And when I made the mistake of going outside of church to sit with those children and play with those children who were sent to church by their parents, you can rest assured that my mother would be out there grabbing me by the ears and making sure that I sat through the entire service. So when I say I'm a Christian today, really I never had a choice. Because once you're exposed to the Word of God, you may not know it, but it seeps into your psyche. That's how powerful the Word of God is. Once you're exposed to it, it will positively impact your life because it provides that fundamental framework by which all things, all relationships are governed. So I must thank my mother for raising me in a Christian household. I was trained in the way I should go. And even when I departed from it, today at 56 years old, I'm a Christian, a proud Christian, a bold Christian, not currying favor from the world or anyone in the world. I'm not ashamed of Christ. And I dare say that I'm able to do all things through Christ. Not as a buzzword, as most Christians use it, but I genuinely believe that to be true because of how my mother raised me. So I'm here reflecting on the magnificent job that my mother has done in raising me by herself between the ages of 0 and 9 years old. When I got to 9 years old, Jehovah organized circumstances for my father to come back into my life, into our lives. They weren't remarried, but he was living with us. So I had that alpha male presence between the ages of 9 and when I left home for university at 17. Now, my father was also a Christian, with all his faults and flaws. He was a Bible-believing, Bible-reading Christian. And he was the one that ensured that I actually read the Bible. And I've been reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation ever since my father put me on that path to this day. Now, does that mean I'm a great Christian? Yes, I'm a great Christian. I'm righteous. But I don't always do things right. I'm nowhere near perfect. But I do know what the standard of righteousness is, and I can spot folly from a mile. And I'm bold enough to call it out when I see it. Therefore, I have to thank my mother and my father. But this video is more about my mother this morning, because after having a conference with the battery of caregivers at the state-of-the-art facility that she currently resides in, at a cost of 2,000 Canadian a month, to ensure that her final days are as comfortable as it can be for someone who has advanced dementia and no longer recognizes me. I didn't realize how impactful that meeting was until I was in conversation with my mother-in-law, and I broke down in tears. I was driving and I was in tears. I was beside myself uncontrollably. And because of my mother-in-law's experience with patients with dementia and the family of those who had dementia, she was able to be a tower of strength for me, allowing me to cry, albeit virtually, because she lives in Florida and I'm in Jamaica. But she allowed me to cry on her shoulders virtually. And I'm here reflecting as I grieve my mother, who's not literally dead, but in all other senses dead to the world, because she no longer recognizes me. And the only thing that I can do for her is to ensure that she's comfortable and well taken care of. And that, I'm assured, is happening. And I give Jehovah praise and glory for allowing me to retire her from the time she was 53 years old. And for reference, I am 56 years old today. Well, and I was blessed enough to retire my mother when she was 53 years old, and gave her the highest standard of living that she wanted at the time, up until she had dementia. So I have the assurance that my mother, in all tangible ways, understood how much I loved her, and I showed her that I loved her. And today, as I literally await to get that phone call that she is dead, I just want to pay her tribute, that she was an amazing woman, a godly woman, who, in spite of the allures of the world, she chose Christ and righteousness, and she raised me accordingly. And the man I am today, the husband that I am today, and I've always been and aspired to be, is that husband that my mother never had in my father, and I believe she deserved. So every day I live my life at a standard with my wife. I'm on my second marriage, which is going to be my last marriage. And I'm living at a standard of a husband that would make my mother exceptionally proud, in the same way I have made her proud. My mother and father respected me and loved me beyond measure. And I'm a product of that love, which I make available to my wife and my children, those who are wise enough to avail themselves of that love. So I'll continue to grieve my mother. I see her virtually every week. I pray that before she finally goes to be with the Lord, she'll recognize me. It may take a miracle for her to experience the man that I have become, the husband that I am today. But I am confident that she knows, because she did a damn good job in raising me to be the man I am. So to my mom, Una Mercelin Daly Virgo, I love you. And till such time, we'll meet on the other side when you have all your faculties again, and we'll celebrate with Jehovah on the other side. Have a blessed Sunday and a blessed week. And in closing, I'll just say, as I always do, seek first the kingdom of Jehovah and his righteousness. Because everything in this world, which is essentially controlled, manipulated by Satan, is a waste of time. And those who are serving him have nowhere going but to everlasting suffering, having no peace or no joy, irrespective of whatever material, existential accomplishments that they may attain in this world. Been there, done that, and I'm sharing with you that don't believe the hype. Satan is a defeated foe, and everything that comes from Satan is a waste of time. Bless.